We're talking about community college and transferring, and just giving you a very broad overview of the transfer process and some programs that can help you transfer from CC to the UCs and the Cal States and also privates. Okay, so a brief overview. I know it's a lot of information, but hang in there, and also we'll be posting this in our website. If you click on 2020 workshops and go to past workshops, you will see presentations for all of our previous workshops, except for one of them because we've lost them. We will re-upload eventually, but other than that, everything is there, including this one after today. So we'll do introductions, what community college is, kind of an overview of the transfer process, how to pick classes, which I know can be really confusing for a lot of people, transferring to the UCs, Cal States, and privates, and just a conversation about how do you know if CC is the right for you, or community college is the right option for you, which one is the right option for you. We'll do a Q&A in the end as well. All right, so a brief introduction. Hi, everyone. If you are new to our workshop today, welcome. My name is Arabi. I am the founder and project director of the Virgin Empowerment Project. I graduated from Van Nuys High School in 2015. I went to Los Angeles Valley College afterwards for 2 years, transferred to UC Berkeley, graduated from Berkeley last year, and now I'm going to Harvard Law in the fall. So if anyone ever tells you that if you go to community college, you're throwing your life away, or like all of the other really negative stereotypes that exist out there about CC, none of that is true. It is completely possible to do what you want with your life, even coming from any community college around you, because it's just an institution where you take classes, like you get your degree, still college. And today with me, I have Stephanie, who will be introducing herself.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Perianto. I also just graduated from Van Nuys High School, and I'm currently attending Pierce College, and I plan to transfer as a mechanical engineering major to Cal Poly SLO or USC.
Thank you, Stephanie. So what is community college? It's a public two-year institution. So usually people will spend 2 to 3 years there. You can take classes necessary for you to transfer to a 4-year university. And when I say 4-year university, it's what you think of when you think college. CSUN, Cal State LA, UCLA, Berkeley, USC, Stanford, all of those are 4-year universities. It's more flexible than regular universities can be. They offer night and weekend classes because a lot of people who go there are working professionals or they have families. They also offer summer and winter classes. You can earn an associate's degree at a community college. You can also just go to get your, like a technical degree or a certificate for specific jobs. Let's say you want to be an EMT, like a paramedic. You can go get your certificate or to be an EMT. So you're not even transferring anywhere. You're just going to community college to get a specific certificate. They also offer non-credit programs, which basically means you're taking classes for your own self-improvement and not to get any credit. So that will count as ESL classes. So if you're trying to improve your English, community enrichment programs, skill development. They have a ton of classes on learning how to use computers, basic programming classes that are considered non-credit. You're doing it to improve yourself, not necessarily so you can get credit. Cheaper than universities. Well, it's free, so yes, it is significantly cheaper. If you are a California student, you might have heard of a thing called the College Promise Program, which makes community college 2 years of it free for first-time, full-time students. We'll talk more about that later, but this is a huge resource that makes college education much more affordable for students. All right, so to give a really brief, broad overview of types of degrees. So you go to high school, right? You graduate from high school, you receive your high school diploma, or you just get your GED and you don't actually go to high school, or you just leave early, whatever. But the idea is you get your diploma or your GED. After that, you go to community college where you can get an associate's degree. You don't have to. You can just transfer to a 4-year without your degree, but you were able to. And then you can go to a 4-year university like CSUN or UCLA, get your bachelor's degree, right? And then afterwards, if you want to continue your education and get a more advanced degree, so you can be like a doctor, a lawyer, or just have a higher degree in whatever you currently have, you can also go to a graduate or professional school. So med school, law school, you can be a social worker, you can go get your degree in counseling. There's so many degrees out there. So these are the 4 rankings of degrees, with the minimum being a high school diploma, and then the highest degree technically would be a PhD, which is where you do like research for a few years and then you get a degree kind of saying like, look, I have created my own research project and I have a thesis. You basically write a book. That's what you're doing. All right, so the transfer process. Again, it's very similar to what I just said, but you graduate from high school or you take your GED, you go to community college for 2 to 3 years where you take two types of classes, your general ed classes, which are like your A through G requirements, but the college version of it. And then you pick a major and you complete the major requirements for the universities that you want to transfer to. We'll go more in details with this later, but the two types of classes are your general ed classes and your major requirements. Once you're done taking all of these classes, you can then transfer to a university. You have to first get admitted, of course, but let's say you get accepted to UCLA. So you transfer to UCLA and you spend the next 2 to 3 years at UCLA. You take classes mostly for your own, like for your major, and then you earn your diploma and you have your bachelor's degree. Along the way, you can obviously get your associate's degree as well. That's what I did. I have an associate's degree in sociology, and I also have a bachelor's degree in sociology. I didn't have to do it, but I had finished the classes already, so I was like, why not just get it along the way? It didn't take me more time. I finished in 2 years, so it wasn't a big deal. But if it requires you to stay like an extra semester or something just to get an associate's degree, I personally don't think it's worth it because you're going to get a bachelor's degree anyways. Like you're getting the higher degree. An associate's degree at that point doesn't really do much for you. Okay, Stephanie's gonna go over the 3 or 4 steps to enroll in a community college.
Okay, so first step you would want to do is search up the community college that you want to attend to. So shown on my screen, it's Pierce College because that's where I attend. And you want to apply online on the right top hand corner. And when you apply, even if you don't want to go to Pierce, you can pick any of the 9 LACCDs and you could click here to begin your application. And once you fulfill your application, you create an account, you could sign in, and there will be an application once you fill it out. Once you submit a OpenCC application and your institution's application, you may get your student ID number within 2 to 3 days. Once you have your student ID number within 2 to 3 days, you go to student portal and you'll make an account. And before you actually go to your student portal, you have to go through orientation, you have to go through counseling, and you have to go through the assessment process. So orientation, all those steps will be inside your student portal. And counseling and assessments, those are kind of tied together. You're not actually being tested, but you are given a form to see like what math and English route you will be put in depending on your major. And once you fulfill all those requirements, you can then enroll into classes. So I guess back to the student portal, we can sign in. You will no longer have holds or to-dos, and you can enroll into classes. But you're probably thinking, what classes am I supposed to enroll in? So there are 2 types. There are major requirements and there are general education requirements. So general ed, it's kind of like your A through G requirements that you face in high school. And you can find that by searching up I Get C or like CSU Breath program. And you'll see here that there's a whole list of options that you can take. This does not necessarily mean that you have to take everything within this list. It's just, it provides you options to take. So like in the first area, it tells you if you want to apply to a CSU, that there's 3 courses required from like A, B, and C, and there's only 1 course for section 2, and etc. However, we do come to a problem where some majors actually do not require I Get C or CSU, and you can find it through the UC website here, where it'll tell you like if you should follow the I Get C or even the CSU. It'll tell you like whether or not you should follow your gen eds or prioritize your major requirements. And to look for your major requirements, there's a website called assist.org. And you would want to click 2019 to 2020 because the current year they haven't released a current transfer plan. So we'll go to 2019 to 2020. You'll select the community college that you go to. So it'll be, for me, it's Pierce. I'll click Pierce. and the institution that I want to go to, Assist only has transfer plans or guides for UCs and CSUs only. So I said slow, I'll click slow. I'll view my agreements and I'll search up the major I would want. So that would be mechanical engineering. I would view the agreement and you'll see this whole list that there are your major requirements there. However, some colleges do actually not have a whole plan. So for example, there's Davis. It's the same exact thing. And you'll notice that there's only 3 classes, which is actually not really correct. So you would have to search up the college itself and its major requirements, and it'll actually tell you like what to do. And once you figure out a whole list of what to do, you can enroll to all your classes that you plan to take.
Awesome. Okay, so let me move back to my screen. Thank you, Stephanie. So that was a very good hands-on look into what the steps look like. So let me kind of give you, or like describe some of the terms that we went over, right? So as Stephanie said, you will be enrolling online at the community college's website. You will receive a student ID, and that will allow you to enroll in your classes online. Everything is done online. There's no paperwork truly to be done. You complete an orientation, and afterwards you have to choose your classes. There's the general ed classes, or they're sometimes known as I Get C classes. You'll hear that word a million times once you get to community college. And then once you know your major, you also have to take specific classes for each university you're applying to, and you find those classes using assist.org, right? Okay. I Get C essentially is a series of classes you take to transfer to the UCs and Cal States. So like the very general requirements are you take 2 to 3 English classes, 1 math class, 3 arts and humanities, 3 social behavioral sciences, 2 like physical and biological sciences, and 2 years of foreign language. I know a lot of you are in the LAUSD system. You take 2 years of Spanish or French or whatever language you took, that will fulfill that foreign language requirement. AP exams, if you score 3 and higher, will cover a lot of these classes. And not everyone has to complete I Get C. That's why Stephanie was saying you have to first go to the university you're interested in transferring to see what they prefer. Sometimes they will say they want you to do the I Get C classes, or they will say, no, don't do that. Here are the classes you should take instead. So the number one advice here is to always do your research to see what your specific university is looking for. I applied to, so I was a sociology major. I applied to 4 UCs and 1 Cal State. I applied to CSUN and then 4 of the UCs. And I Get C for all 5 of them. And all of the 5 universities accepted it. But I do know for some majors, so I did sociology, so it was fine. There are some majors where they don't require or encourage you to do I Get C because they want a different set of classes. Major requirements, you check assist.org like Stephanie showed you. You put the college you want to go to and where you're coming from. So like she put Pierce, she put Cal Poly SLO, and it will show you what classes you need. Again, please verify that information with the actual website where you want to transfer. So if you want to transfer to UC Berkeley, go to their website to see what their transfer requirements are. This is good practice because you should only be trusting information that comes from that source, right? So always good to kind of make sure that you're taking the right classes. Make sure the classes you are taking are transferable to the institution you choose to attend. What that means is when you like find a class, let's say you go to Pierce, next to every class, it will say that it's UC and CSU transferable. That means that it will transfer once you get to a Cal State or UC. If it doesn't say that, it means that it's not. And you should not be taking it if your goal is to transfer to a Cal State or UC, because that means you just took that class for nothing. Everything you take really should be UC or CSU transferable. I hope that makes sense. Please let me know if you need more details on this process. We're happy to go over it more, but we want to kind of move on and show you some other programs that will help you transfer. So Stephanie showed you mechanical engineering. This is political science. And this is for if you want to transfer to UCLA from LA Valley College, right? You take these classes to be able to transfer to UCLA. And basically these classes are the equivalent of these classes at UCLA. So if you had just gone to UCLA right out of high school, you would be taking these classes, right, at UCLA. But because you're going to Valley College first, you're taking the equivalent of them. That's all that means. You're replacing some classes with another set of classes at community college. That's all you're doing. That's why it's so easy to transfer to UCs and Cal States. Okay, so I want to talk about transferring to the UCs now. There are 3 different programs that help you kind of facilitate the transfer process. Although we're not going to go over in details for each of them, all of the information is on this presentation, so you can look at it on our website afterwards, but I will give you a very general overview. So first, the transfer requirements. You have to take, like I said earlier, general ed classes, either your IGETC or the requirements for a specific campus. So I did IGETC, but let's say Stephanie ends up doing specific requirements to transfer to UCLA, right? So it will depend on your major and where you want to go. You have to complete 60 semester units of transferable college classes with a minimum of 2.4 GPA. 60 semester units is basically equivalent to 15 to 20 classes. So that makes sense because they want you to transfer in 2 to 3 years. So you're taking about that range. If you're a STEM major, usually they end up taking more classes. I think I took about 15 to 20, but it might be more for you depending on what your major is. Although the minimum GPA is 2.4, that it is what that it says it's minimum, that really is true. The UCs are pretty competitive, as you know, so you really should be aiming for as high of a GPA as possible. And personally, I think it should be at least above a 3.0. Each class must be at least 3 semester units. Basically, each class gets assigned a set of units. So it can be from 1 unit, like a lot of the gym classes at community college are only 1 unit or half a unit. And then it can go all the way up to 5 units, I believe. So UCs want you to make sure all of your classes are at least 3 semester units. If it's below, it's not going to count. If it's above, it's fine. And you need to pass all your classes with a C or better. When you see this presentation on our website, you'll be able to click here to see all of the requirements. So it's a link. All right, so the transfer pathways, really quickly, what the UC transfer pathway program does is if you are any one of these majors, it's a pretty long list, so sociology is right here, so I could have done this, I didn't. If you major in sociology and you take a set of classes, it will allow you to transfer to any one of the 9 UC campuses. It's not guaranteed that you'll get in, but you will be able to apply to all 9 campuses by just taking one set of classes. And you can find what those classes are on the UC website. So that's a pretty cool program if you know for sure you want to do like one of these majors. Let's say you want to do electrical engineering and you know that's your major and you want to apply to all of the UCs or like a bunch of them, you can just follow a pathway. There is another program called Transfer Admission Guarantee. It's known as TAG. What TAG allows you to do is receive guaranteed admissions to one of the 6 UC campuses. You might notice San Diego, UCLA, and UC Berkeley are not on this list because they just don't participate. But the remaining schools, if you finish all of the requirements for TAG, which you'll find on the website, on each of these universities' website, you will be able to receive guaranteed admission. So what I did when I was in community college, I filled out TAG for UC Santa Barbara. So I received guaranteed admissions there, kind of as a backup, right? But then I also got into Berkeley, so I just decided to go there. But if I hadn't, I would have gone to UC Santa Barbara because I just knew that that was an option for me. I had a safety net. This is a separate application from the UC application. You finish the TAG, like you fill it out September of your of the year you're applying to use colleges in community college, and the UC applications due in November. So it's 2 separate applications. Be sure to fill out both. Finally, the third thing you need to know is the Transfer Admission Planner, TAP. It's basically an online website where you can plan and track all your coursework. It helps you keep track of what you still need to take, what you have taken already, and this is where you're going to submit your TAG application. So make that account pretty early so you just have it on you, and you'll be filling out the TAG when it's time for you to apply to colleges. So those are the 3 applications. Between TAG and UC Pathways, you're basically ensuring that you get into at least one UC. Like they make it really accessible for you to transfer to a UC if that's your goal. CSE requirements are pretty similar. You take your general ed classes, either IGETC or the requirements for a specific campus, right? Do your research to see which one it is. Again, you finish your 60 semester units with a minimum of 2.0 GPAs. It's a little bit lower, but again, some of the UCs are pretty competitive, like Cal Poly Pomona and San Luis Obispo are pretty competitive, so you want to make sure your GPA is as high as possible. Another requirement they have is taking an American institutions class. Basically, it's a class about American culture, like it could be US history, something like that. You can take it either at a community college or once you transfer to a CSU. And each class, again, must be at least, I don't think that's always true for CSUs. It might be. I would say check to see what CSU you're going to. But for UCs, for sure, you need 3 semester units. Again, if you click here, you'll be able to see all of the requirements. You can just, it's a link. CSUs have a program called Degree with a Guarantee, where if you get a bachelor's associate's degree in community college, and then you major in that same program once you transfer to a CSU, you will receive guaranteed priority admission. So to give an example, I got my associate's degree in sociology at Valley College, and then I applied to CSUN to also study sociology. Because I already had an associate's degree, I would have received priority admissions, right? Because they knew that I had done it. So that's what the program is. You have to complete all of the requirements for your major. So if you know you want to go to a CSU, this is a good program to kind of make sure that you are setting yourself apart from, you know, all other students. It's cool that they have these programs because it makes it easier to transfer. It is also possible to transfer to privates, and I will let Stephanie talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so for some privates, actually all privates, they have their own specific requirement compared to CSU and UCs. They kind of have more of a general same situation. So for example, I am also trying to transfer to USC. I searched up a USC transfer planning guide, and with here you can fill out your information, same kind of thing as assist, Pierce College, and then mechanical and engineering, and then once it'll load and it'll show everything. It kind of has different requirements, and like I get C and everything else, I don't really have to follow it. It tells me that I at least have to finish 2 areas. Some I get C gen eds and private gen eds do match. So if you do plan to apply to a UC and a private, some actually do overlap. So you want to take as many as you can that do overlap. And so yeah, as you see, there are different requirements, and just like CSUs, they have like an American institution thing. Well, this specific private has a global perspective requirement, and then yeah, it just shows you everything that you need. So every private does have their own little transfer planning guide.
Yeah. So the important thing to remember is it's not on assist.org. So if you're planning on transferring to USC, Stanford, wherever you want to go, you have to check with each website to see what their transfer requirements are. The other thing is not every private university is transfer friendly. They might accept like 2 or 3 people per year, right? I know USC accepts quite a few transfers, so they're pretty transfer friendly, but there are universities where they're just like, we'll accept 2 this year. So do your research to see early to see which private universities you can actually have a really good shot of being accepted to. My recommendation, honestly, is if you're applying to privates, that's completely fine, go ahead. But in addition, apply to a few UCs and Cal States as well to make sure you have something to fall back on if your privates don't really work out for you because they accept fewer students. Okay, so which community college is right for you? I chose to go to Valley College because it was the closest option to me. It was literally 10 minutes away from my home, but also they offered all of the classes that I needed. So what I did was I checked assist.org to see if all of the classes or most of the classes I needed to transfer to, my dream school was UCLA, first of all. So I checked to see if all the classes I needed to transfer to UCLA as a sociology major was available at Valley College, and they were. And that's how I knew that this was a good place to stay. If I had seen that some of the classes I need aren't available at Valley College, I would have probably either gone to Pierce, Mission, I would have checked to see what other community college offers the classes that I need. So do that research. Don't end up going to a CC where they only offer 1 class that you need, because that's no good. You'll have to go somewhere else anyways. And it is possible to attend multiple community colleges. You can go to Valley and Pierce at the same time. And that's possible because they're part of the same system, and you're not going to be in community college from like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's usually like you go to take a few classes a day, if that. I never had classes on Fridays. I only had classes Monday through Thursday, and I was also working part-time. So it's completely possible to fit your schedule and attend classes in multiple campuses. Another thing to consider might be, do you want to, if you want to be part of the honors program? To transfer, UCs offer a transfer program that's kind of like, it's called the honors program. And it's specifically for UCLA, although I think some of the other UCs like Irvine might accept it, but UCLA created this honors program to facilitate transfers from community college to UCLA. It essentially gives you priority. So what that means is you take some honors classes at your community college, and once you do that, they will see that on your application, and they will say, okay, this person receives priority admissions. I did the program at Valley. It was really easy. It wasn't like a really big deal. Basically, what they will offer honors classes, so you can take one of those. But if they don't, Valley College gave us the option to turn one of our classes into an honors class, which is really cool. So you go ask your professor if they're willing to offer that class to you personally as an honors class. And what they usually do is they will just give you an extra assignment to make it honors. Super easy. You do the assignment, you get whatever grade you get, and yeah, that class was honors. And so that it will say that on your transcripts. So I did the honors program. I did get accepted to UCLA. I ended up not going, even though that was my dream school initially. So yeah, these are all of the things to consider. Stephanie, do you want to talk about why you chose Pierce?
Sure. So I also had a location aspect in terms of Pierce. So since it's close to my parents' work and I can't really drive at the moment, I did consider like, oh, since they are my transportation at the moment, I would apply to Pierce. So I considered that into thinking of my decision of which CC. I also had the same situation as Arabi. I had seen that Pierce has a lot of the same classes for specifically my major, and I also heard that Pierce was really good for STEM. So I considered Pierce for that. And yeah, I'm not in the honors program mainly because um, it follows I get C and more of gen eds, and I don't really need to do that, and I have to focus on my major requirements. But yes, that's it.
How did you know you have to focus more on your major requirements over your general ed? Did you find that on the website?
I found it on my own on the website, and my counselor actually didn't tell me about that, and I had to research it on my own.
So you went on the Cal Poly SLO website and that's what it said?
I went on all the specific schools I wanted to go to on their website.
Got it. Yeah. So this is super important, you guys. Like, don't follow a path that's given to you, because for Stephanie, mechanical engineering at Cal Poly SLO, they don't want her to do IGETC. If she had done it, that would have kind of been a waste of time, because they want her to do her major requirements. Because for a STEM major like mechanical engineering, there's a ton of major classes to take. So you have to be careful and check to see where you want to transfer for what major and what you need to do according to that. Okay, financial aid. So like I said before, College Promise, the grant covers tuition for all first-time students with full-time enrollment. Full-time enrollment is considered as 12 units, which is about, I want to say 3 to 4 classes. So as long as you hit 12 units, you will be considered a full-time student, and you will receive College Promise grant, which covers all tuition. But it only covers tuition though, which means you might need like other forms of financial aid to be able to cover textbooks, transportation, if you're living on your own, then rent. And that's why it's important for you to apply to FAFSA and the California Dream Act every year, because what that will do is determine your eligibility for other types of financial aid. So you can buy textbooks, so you can buy food, whatever you gotta do, right? So that's what every year before March 2nd, you either apply for FAFSA or the California Dream Act if you're undocumented. And through that, you will receive the College Promise grant and also other forms of financial aid to help you cover your entire community college cost. I didn't pay anything for community college, although I did pay for textbooks because I didn't apply for financial aid at the time. They just gave me a fee waiver. You don't do that. Definitely apply for FAFSA, the California Dream Act, but for like all intents and purposes, I went to CC for free. So money is a huge factor in this decision, right? Like it helps you save so much money. Pros and cons, just to put some thoughts out there, if you're still debating between a 4-year university and a CC. Pros, it's significantly cheaper than a 4-year university. This is especially something to consider if your family makes like a good income, right? Because if you're low income, you're going to get good aid at a CSU or UC or even a private, right? Like if you're, yeah, so if your family is low income to begin with, money should not be that much of a concern for you because you're going to receive good aid. However, if your family is like middle class or has income, something to consider. It's slower pace. By slower pace, I just mean that like classes are not going to be at the same rigor as it might be at the UCs or the Cal States. And it's a really good time to discover your interests. I didn't know going into college I wanted to do sociology. I didn't even know I wanted to go to law school. So I kind of figured out all of my interests while I was in community college. So that was a really good time for me to kind of ask myself, what am I interested in? It wasn't until I took my first sociology class that I realized I loved it. Like I just loved what I was learning, and that's when I declared sociology. So it wasn't until my end of my first year of college. So if you're in that same boat of, I honestly don't know what I'm doing, what should I study? Community college is a good place to kind of take that time to figure it out. And you were able to apply to competitive schools. So out of high school, I didn't get into UCLA or UC Berkeley, right? Those, which were the schools I really wanted to go to. After I went to community college, I was able to get my GPA up. So that's why I was able to get in, not because it's necessarily easier. It's just that it's another chance for you to kind of get your grades up and apply again. So I did, and I was able to get into all of the UC that I applied to. So I'm really glad my life took me down that route because I was capable of being admitted to UCL and Berkeley all along. It was just that when I was in high school, I wasn't at that stage in my life where I could study as super intensely and get a really good GPA. I learned those study habits in community college. I became a really good student in community college, and I never was really in high school. So if that sounds like you, and I know there are a lot of students like that who are just like, I know I'm capable, but I'm just not there yet. Community college is another really good reason for that. Okay, so but there are cons as well. Not as many extracurriculars or clubs on campus. At Valley, the social environment was pretty dead, I would say. There were clubs available, there was speech and debate, there was like student government, but it wasn't as extensive as it will be at a 4-year university. You're not getting the same college experience. So if for you, college is like dorming and like living together with the other college students and like being on campus, like that entire experience, you're not going to get that at a community college. So that is something to consider if that's really important to you. Should not be a deal breaker. That should not be the reason why you don't go or why you do go. And the other thing I think Stephanie mentioned earlier, you don't really receive as much guidance from counselors. They will give you general advice. So this is what I've noticed from personal experience, but not as much specific advice for your personal path. This is why it's important for you to learn how to do your own research. So going to assist.org, doing your research on the UC and Cal State websites to see what they have, do your own research, take notes, organize the classes that you need. Because yeah, you should be going to a counselor at least once every semester, but there isn't that much hand holding, right? Like you have to pick your own classes. They're not going to do it for you. So I feel like that can be a con if you are really used to like your counselors in high school picking your classes for you and kind of telling you what you need. So just be aware of that. Oh, before I go to that, Stephanie, do you want to add anything to the pros and cons?
Not really. I think you covered everything basically.
Okay. All right, so we're pretty good on time today, actually. So we'll do some Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send them our way. And I will also share some like more personal tips and experiences that I've had from my time at Valley College. Let's see. So Kamal, do you want to go through that question that was asked?
So we asked this question that I got. Sorry, I just realized I was on mute. So this one is about medical school. So to get into medical school, would I need a professional degree? And if I want a higher degree than a bachelor's, does that mean I would continue 4 more years in the UC? So to answer this question, I'm going to go over my answer. So this is specific to medical school. So for medical schools, there's a few variations, but generally you obtain a bachelor's degree. So that's usually considered a 4-year degree. And during those 4 years, or even after those 4 years, you need to make sure you complete prereqs for medical school. And that's something that you would find online at different med school websites, but there's also just a national standard on that. So you take your prereqs, you obtain your bachelor's, and then you take the MCAT, which is a medical entrance exam, and then you can apply for med schools. So and med school is again a 4-year degree. So that's generally how people get into med schools. There are variations and very specific programs, but those make up maybe 1% of how most people obtain their medical doctorates. And yeah, if you want to obtain a higher degree than a bachelor's, you don't need to just obtain it from UC. A lot of people obtain master's degrees and other professional degrees from CSUs, private schools and whatnot. So I believe I've answered this question. And do you have anything else to add? Or any of the other speakers of the Barabi?
No, I think you covered that. I would say that, yeah, you're not stuck within one system. You can go to community college, go to a UC if you want, and then go to a completely different, like you can go to another UC or you can go to a private. I don't think Cal States have medical schools, so that's probably not an option for you if you're pre-med, but basically you're open to apply to any med school that you want. And this goes for law school or in most other graduate programs as well. If anyone's interested in law school, I can say that because law schools don't have any classes you have to take to apply to a law school, I didn't have to worry about that. I majored in sociology because that's what I was interested in. And that's what allowed me to keep up my GPA because I was good at it, right? So I would say, don't worry too much about graduate programs. I don't think going to a community college hurts your chances as long as you keep up your GPA. I know that was a concern for a lot of people where they're like, well, I want to go, but what if that hurts my chances in the end? I don't think that's true. I have friends who went to community college, who are going to med school. I got into Harvard. I don't think it really matters as long as your GPA is good and you were like involved in doing extracurriculars. Okay, so Jasmine asks, I feel like I want to experience the university life, but I really want to go to a UC since I will be saving a lot of money. When you transfer, do you get to experience the college life? Absolutely, yes. Even though you have less time, you'll probably have 2 to 3 years, you can still study abroad. You can still live in a dorm if you want, although you'll be a little bit older, but I know Berkeley had a transfer dorm, which means you get to live with other transfer students, which was really cool. I didn't do it, but I had friends who did and they loved it. You get to do essentially everything that other people had done when they had gone into high school. I know that was a concern for me too. I was really sad because I saw my friends who had gone into Cal States and UCs and I was like, I want that experience. Once I got to Berkeley, it was fine. I feel like I got my college experience. If you want to party, completely an option for you. Doing research, internships, all of that, it's for the most part open. So I wouldn't worry too much. What I will say though is when you're in community college, try to get some work experience or internships or do something outside of classes. So when I was at Valley, I was a sociology tutor. So I worked with a tutoring center at Valley and I helped a professor not teach, but tutor her sociology students. That was a really good experience for me. And I was also a tutor at Van Nuys High School for Educare, which is an after-school program you might know of. And I tutored high school students. And I talked about those things in my personal statements. I said how much I love being able to help students and educating them. So I wrote about them in my personal statements. I recommend doing something outside of classes so you can write about it in your personal statements. And once you get to college, a 4-year, you can also say that, look, I already have these experiences from community college. Yeah, so keep up your resume, keep up your GPA, and it will only help you once you transfer. The other thing I'll say is don't rule out any UC or any college, right? I honestly didn't think I was going to get into Berkeley. I was like, I'm going to apply because it's free, because you get 4 free applications. That's why I applied. I didn't think I was going to get in. That's why my dream school was UCLA. And I'm like, yes, I feel like I'm going to get in. This is it. I did end up getting into Berkeley. And I'm super glad that I applied. Don't rule out anything. Don't think, oh, I have no chance. I'm not going to apply. If you are interested in going somewhere and you can afford it, I think you should apply. Never, ever rule yourself out. They might see something in you that you don't see in yourself. So just want to put that out there. Please let us know if you have any other questions. I'm trying to think what other challenges I faced. I think my biggest challenge at Valley College just was not knowing if I was preparing sufficiently, if that makes sense. Again, because like you don't have counselors telling you like, oh, you have to take this class and this class. I figured it out all on my own. So sometimes it was like, am I doing this right? What if I'm messing up and I have no idea? So that can be a common feeling. And if you feel that way, I would say reach out to another friend who's also transferring to the same system. Go talk to a counselor, talk to professors, get rec letters. They're going to pay off down the line. And also each community college offers scholarships that people don't really apply to. So at Valley, I had professors tell us that there were tons of scholarships that were just going unused because no one was applying for them. I applied for, I want to say 13 or 12 of them, and I've got 5 of them, which was around $5,000. I probably got it because honestly, I didn't have that much competition. So there is a ton of free money out there. I think you should utilize it. Brianna asks, if you score a 3 or higher on AP exams, does that mean you don't have to take those classes in college? For the most part, yes, not always. For example, there's an English requirement for IGETC, and you have to take an English class in community college. There's no way around it. Even getting a 5 on the AP exam for English doesn't cut it. But other than that, yeah, I transferred into Valley with 18 AP credit. Yeah, 18 AP credits, which means I had to take 18 fewer units than other people did. That helped me transfer on time, right? Because then I just took fewer classes to begin with. That was really helpful for me. AP classes do help, and you should consider taking them, or just taking community college classes now as a high school student. Okay, Kamal, do you want to ask your question?
Yes. So the question is, if I finished my AA or associate's degree right now in high school and apply to university from high school and get accepted, can I still transfer those credits after I get accepted? So the school that I went to, I took community college classes. And from my personal experience, it depends on the school. I think for most part within the California system, yes. Am I right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Mm-hmm.
But for instance, for my school, the University of Pennsylvania, none of the classes I took counted. So essentially, they used that within my application, but they requested me to retake all the courses. So I ended up not retaking them and took other courses. But for the privates, it gets really iffy, and the privates are very interesting in the way they treat courses. But I think for the UCs and the CUCs, as far as I understand, there's much more, you could transfer much more courses, but again, use the websites that like we talked about in this presentation, because at the end of the day, I think sometimes the focus is more about specific courses than transferring degrees.
Yeah, it's based on the classes. That's what's important. I had a friend who took, I want to say like 10 community college classes while she was in high school. The thing is, she got credits for that, but she had to repeat some of those classes anyways, because she was initially a business major, and the business department at Cal Poly SLO didn't like that she took those classes at community college. They kind of made her repeat them again, but she got general units for them still. So she overall had to take fewer classes, but had to repeat specific business classes. It really depends on where you want to go. So I would say email the department of the university you want to go to, like the admissions department, and ask them what they think about this, and be like, look, I'm getting my associate's degree. Here are the classes I took. What do you think? And they should be able to answer you. Okay, more questions. How can you get more involved in clubs in community college? Does it depend on which CC you go to? Yeah, I think it depends. You can get involved with whatever is on campus. The other thing so like there's speech debate, there might be mock trial, there might be student government. See what they have and get involved that way. The other thing I recommend that you do is look into how to get involved outside of campus. Can you get an internship with a local nonprofit or the local homeless shelter or the women's shelter? Can you do some sort of social media work for like a company or an organization? Can you do like a summer program to help you transfer? Pro tip, UCLA has one, it's called CCCP. I don't know what the C's stand for, but CCCP. And I did it over summer, and basically it helped me figure out how to get into UCLA and the other UCs. It was super amazing. They paid for us to stay on campus at UCLA for a whole week. So we got UCLA food, professors taught us classes. It was really fun. The entire thing was free. So there are programs like that exist. Ask the transfer center at your community college what programs are available that are kind of like that. Another question is, do all community colleges give first-time students 2 free years or only some? Stephanie, maybe you can answer this one, but I believe it's for all students who are first-time students who are full-time here in California. And yes, it is for everybody in California. Do you know anything else?
It's as long as you're a high school graduate from California and, like you said, full-time, first time. That's exactly it.
Okay. Yeah, so other than that, I don't think there's any other requirement. Another question, what if you're attending community college during high school and continue on for the next 1 or 2 years, will you still be able to transfer on time? Oh yeah, I think you'll be able to transfer potentially even earlier because you were already taking classes when you're in high school. So you're kind of finishing a lot of those the classes you would take those 2 years during high school. So potentially you could transfer earlier. The only thing I'll say about transferring earlier is, let's say you spend only 1 year at community college. When you apply to a UC or Cal State, they might still look at your SAT score. Although they're no longer doing that, so that doesn't really matter anymore. But if they did, then they would have looked at your SAT scores. So I think it's a good idea. I think you should keep taking classes and yeah, spend a year or two after you graduate and then transfer. That's completely fine. I think it's, yeah. Don't see a problem with that. Even if you don't take classes now in high school, you'll still be okay. I didn't take any community college classes, and I was able to transfer on time. It depends on your major, like I've said earlier.
Another thing I want to add for students who are just interested in taking community college courses in high school, a lot of districts and community colleges have partnerships where students will undergo concurrent enrollment. I don't know why I did that. So it's just called concurrent enrollment, where you're both enrolled at a community college course as well as you're still in high school. And those are usually free courses. So look into that and see what you can do, because I know, like for instance, my high school has no computer science courses, no media courses, no, like a lot of courses, we don't offer a wide breadth of courses, but students who are interested can take courses at the community college and they can help round their education.
I know a lot of you, if not all of you, are from the LAUSD. You were part of the school district. LAUSD is really big on concurrent enrollment. I know Van Nuys High School offers, like they will allow you to take classes over the summer in the local community college and you get credit for them. So yeah, that's a really good idea. It just it looks good in college applications if you're applying to the UCs anyways. And also it just helps you earn credit early. My final tip, because we are running out of time, is if you're a senior right now and you're going to be applying to colleges in the fall, even if you're set on community college, I really encourage you to still apply to UCs and Cal States and privates if you'd like. I say that because you might think that, yes, I definitely want to go to community college now, but honestly, you don't know where you might end up getting accepted to. So even if you know, like 90% sure you're going to community college, I think you should still apply just to see what happens. And you might change your mind when you get accepted and you actually have an admissions letter in your hands. So I would say don't count it out right now. Although CCs have a ton of perks, going to a 4-year university, especially if you get into a really good one, I mean, that's a really big deal. And I think you shouldn't rule that out just yet. Okay, so please let us know if this was helpful by taking this survey. This helps us improve our programs and give better presentations. Also, if any of you we've been getting a feedback on our surveys that you would like a workshop on graduate programs like med school, PhD, master's degrees. We are planning on doing one. It will be in August, and I'll let you know the date on Instagram, and we'll also send off an email. So yes, we are gonna do a workshop, and we're only doing it because we've been getting that feedback that they would like to see a workshop on grad schools. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for coming and attending our workshop. I hope this was helpful. All of our past workshops, not the recordings just yet, we are uploading them. The first one is up already from workshop 1. We're slowly getting them out because we're editing them as well. but the presentations themselves can be found under past workshops if you hover over summer 2020 workshops on our website. So everything is there. You can sign up for a newsletter where we send you updates every month. Follow us on Instagram at First Gen Empowerment. We mostly do a lot of our engagement through there. So if you have questions, you can DM us. We post scholarship opportunities. So yeah, we try to stay active there. If you have any questions about community college, if you're debating between CC and a 4-year, anything like that, you need advice, please email us at firstgenvnhs@gmail.com. We would be happy to help you. If you're a Van Nuys High School student, you can join the FGE Club, which will be starting, I believe they will start recruiting next month, but you can let us know if you're interested here on this link. And our next workshop is on Friday, Tips for Succeeding in College. And this does include community college students as well. It's for anyone who's going to college, period. And we just want to talk about some things you can do when you're there and before to make sure you are doing your best and taking advantage of every opportunity. That's all for us. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, we will stick around so you can stay and let us know. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, that's all. See you on Friday. Bye.